All right, everybody. Today is Tuesday, and as you can see, there is no race car in the garage today, only my dad's front end, and that is because we went racing this Saturday. And it was I'd say it was a pretty good weekend, pretty good day actually. Didn't really have any problems with the car. I mean, it ran well. All the changes we made seemed to have worked. We didn't have any problems after any of the runs or found anything or heard anything that was concerning to where we had to go back and see if what we did didn't work. But just wanted to do like a little recap video of how the weekend went. Pretty good for my second time out this year, and I don't know if I've said this before, but this is only my second year racing, so I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get better. You know, I'm inconsistent sometimes, and but this weekend was pretty good for myself. It definitely gave me a boost of confidence for how it went. So let's go ahead and get into it. So with the way the day kind of started, it was conflicting reports. There was a chance for rain, there wasn't a chance for rain. You know, you heard it wasn't going to rain all day and stuff like that. So we get out there, get the car unloaded, start warming it up, checking all the fluids and everything. Well, over the loudspeaker, they say Pro is on a short standby for our first time run. So it's like, okay, well, everything's already ready to go. So once they call us, we'll go. And then within 5 minutes after they said that, just a slight little drizzle coming down, just enough to piss you off, really, is what it was. Because it just, you know, it would go for a minute or two, and then it'd stop, and then it'd go and stop, and it did that for probably 20 to 30 minutes, I'd say. And so that means that they had to completely redo everything on the track, re-drag it, put all the, you know, the sticky stuff down and all that. So we were sitting there waiting, and then they finally called us to the lanes for our time run. And it was about, let's say it was probably about 12 when they called us. And so we all kind of figured we're not going to get multiple time runs that day because we were supposed to be on the track an hour beforehand. And then they called us to the lanes, and we sat in the lanes for probably 30 minutes, I would say, before they actually started moving cars, because they were still prepping the track and dragging the track to get it ready. And with the way the weather was, with as humid as it was, and then the rain didn't help because it just made it stickier. You could definitely tell on that first time run, the track wasn't all there. So as you can see from that clip, from the time I pulled into the water box to when I actually did my burnout and made the run, I was sitting there for a while. And the reason being for that is the car in front of me, even, I was sitting there in the water box and I saw him spin. Like he spun pretty bad, got out of the groove and everything. So they held us in the water box and they started spraying stuff on the starting line. Well, they did it for both lanes. Well, they held us there for, a good minute. And the temperature just kept rising and rising. I had the water pump on, I had the fan on. And by the time I even did the burnout, it was already at like 190 degrees, which definitely not the best recipe because, normally when I'm doing my burnout, it's maybe 150, maybe 160. So it was already 30 degrees hotter and went to 714. And I think part of that is it was hot and then the track wasn't there. Even though I didn't feel like I spun or anything, everybody was off. Even my grandpa, he said he was 4 numbers off, and that's about where I was. Last time we were out, it was 710 first time run, and this one 714. So we had kind of an idea going into first round because we were only getting 1 time run because they had a quick 16 door car and dragster race that day too, and they were giving them 2 time runs. So we only got 1, which no big deal. It's pretty standard out there. So going into first round, wasn't super sure what to dial it. We were thinking, we'll put a 710 on it, see what it does, and let it go. Well, my grandpa was up before I was, and he put a 7 flat on it, on his car, and all he could run was a 702. So he was 2 numbers off. So sitting there thinking about it, I was like, well, let's put a 12 on it. We'll run with the 12, see what it does. So we put the 12 on, and not my best effort. I was late. He was 02, and my reaction time started with a 1. Which, if you have a race like that where you're already spotting him 8 to at the starting line, you're gonna have to hope he slows down a lot or he just goes under. So when I left, I shifted into second. And when I looked over, he was already there. He was right up next to me. So I either knew I was late or he was going way under. And then get out there, and then he just completely lets off of it. And at that point, I knew I was probably done for, so I just stayed in it. Didn't even let out of it. And then I went the 13. So it was 13 with the 0. So we weren't that far off on the dial. It was just, we were 1 above. If I could have had a better light, it would have been definitely a more competitive race. But the biggest thing is there was nothing wrong with the car. Didn't hear anything, no problems. So we were happy. So it was, let's get the charger on, put fuel in it, and I'll go by the back. Well, pulling into the lane, sure enough, the guy I pull up next to, the guy that I ran first round. Went and talked to him. Pretty cool guy. He's a Mopar guy, even though he's driving the Camaro. He told me he's a Mopar guy, but this is just the opportunity, the ride he had the opportunity to drive. So he's driving it, which you can't fault the guy for that. But I knew I couldn't do the same thing I did the round before. because if I did, I was done for it and I just wasted my money for the weekend. That was that. So kind of hyped myself up in the car, knew I had to be on it, and which, not like I gave myself a pep talk, I just knew I had to be better on the tree. So I was more focused in everything this time going up. And like I said, this is only my second year, so I'm still trying to get the hang of it, still getting the hang of my staging process. And I definitely felt this time I felt more comfortable going in. So this round, I got the W, which I was very happy about. I was much better on the tree. I was 0-1 to his 0-4, so I already had the advantage on the starting line. And this pass, when I shifted into second and I looked over, he wasn't there. I'd say he was about at my bumper. So I knew I either need to back into him a little bit to not break out, or just let him just take the stripe, which I definitely didn't. I wasn't trying to let him take the stripe. So shifted it into high, and he still wasn't there. He was maybe at my quarter. So I got out of it just a little bit, not a lot, just, maybe a split second, then got back into it and went 3 above, and he broke out. So felt with the 11 on the window, we were pretty close. I mean, I don't know if it would have run the 11 had I stayed in it, but to let out like I did and then get back in it to only go 3 above, pretty good. We knew we were in the ballpark of where we needed to be. So but the biggest thing for me is my staging procedure was better. My light was way better. Going from a reaction time starting with a 1 to starting with a 0-1 definitely improved how I wanted to. So definitely had more confidence going into the third round, and thought we had a good, we felt we were pretty good on the dial in. I mean, like I said, I led off and I went 3 above. So we stuck with the 11 on it to the next round. The only way I would have changed it is if I was in the left lane, because usually at kilkare, it's like I'd say like 1 to 2 numbers difference between the lanes. So I probably would have put a 12 on it had I gotten the left lane this next round. But thankfully, ended up drawing right lane again. So I left the 11 on it and let it go. So this round, I wouldn't necessarily say I got away with one because I was still pretty decent up front. I was 0-4, but my opponent was 0007 red. So had he been green, I would have had a chance. I wouldn't have had much of one just because if he would have been, he probably would have been pretty close to trip zip green or 001, something like that. And but once I left, I saw he went red, so I didn't let out of it, just stayed in it just to see what it would run, because the air was changing, the weather was changing, it was cooling down, the sun was going down, and it went 710 with a 2, and we left the 11 on it. So now we have the decision, what do we do for this next round? Because do I put a 10 on it, or do I dial it down one more because the weather's going to change? And it just so happened when the quick cars were up there, they had a break that took a while to clean up, get the guy off the track. So by the time I went up for the next round, the sun was already going down. The weather was different. Like, it wasn't chilly, but it was cooler, but it was still sticky. So we're fighting, going back and forth of what should we do? Should we put a 10 on it? Should we put a 9 on it? Should we put should we even put an 8 on it just to see if it'll run the number? So we get up there and decided to put an 8 on it. We'll see what it does. Weather's different. Anything can happen. So this was round 4. We were down to 10 cars at this point. I was actually 1 round away from the money. Drew the only other Mopar left in the competition, which definitely sucked because being the guy we're talking, he's a pretty cool guy. I've actually seen him race quite a bit out at a lot of these Mopar races that we go to. Pretty cool guy, really good racer. He wins pretty frequently. But we definitely didn't want to draw each other because, like I said, we were the only 2 Mopar guys left, so we were trying to stay away from each other, but as luck would have it, we drew each other. So I was late. Definitely, he was 02, and I don't even remember what my light was, but I was late. And get out there, and he had already caught me. So part of my thinking was I'll just stay in it until right before the finish line, and then I'll get out of it. But then he was pulling away from me, and then he just completely let out of it. So I was like, I can't let it, I might as well just stay in it and see what it runs, because I'm probably not going to get the win here unless he breaks out. Stayed in it completely, and all it went was a 712. So it wasn't even going to run the number. And, I don't know why it slowed down. There was nothing that really gave me the thought that it was going to slow down, because, like I said, the weather was changing. It was cooler. It was still sticky, but it hadn't, for the most part all day, it felt like it was like there was nothing different in that run than any other run throughout the day. So I don't really know why it slowed down. None of, me, my dad, my grandpa, we couldn't make sense why it did, but so be it. We put the 708 on it, went 712. So even if I wouldn't have been late, I still, with it not running the number and being 4 above, I was probably dead in the water. but I just happened to be late and gave that guy a big advantage at the tree, and he took off, ran with it. And like I said, that guy's really good. You know, he wins pretty frequently. He actually ended up winning Saturday, which definitely makes you feel better when the guy that beat you, took you out, went on to win it. So, you know, that definitely made me feel a little better. But the biggest thing that I took away from Saturday was I got more comfortable with everything, because last year we had a different motor. We had my dad's motor, and then we got this new motor, which is different. I mean, it's still a 30 over 440, but it doesn't have the aluminum heads or anything like that. So I've been trying to find my place on the tree with it, because it doesn't leave as hard when it had my dad's motor in it. And I'm just, like I said before, this is my second year racing. I'm still trying to get in a groove, but this weekend was definitely helped a lot, gave me a lot of confidence, and I felt like it was probably my best weekend of racing that I've had in quite a while. But it's something to build off of, and definitely excited for the rest of the season. The little bit that we do have left, probably only got maybe a month or two left of racing, which we're going to try to get out as much as we can. This weekend we won't, with Labor Day. Most of the races that are local to us are big money races, and I don't really want to go to one. Probably going to do like a family get together this weekend, so probably just going to stay home. But the weekend after, the weekend of the 8th and the 9th, plan on definitely going racing and hoping to build off of what I did this past weekend, and hopefully can, you know, improve. Car, like I said, the car ran well this weekend, so we definitely feel like we got that figured out. I just got to get myself together, which this past weekend was only my second time out this year, because with getting the truck painted and then just having the problems that we had with the motor, definitely took a lot of seat time away, but you know, so be it. That's just the way it goes. But definitely excited to get back to racing in a couple weekends and for the rest of the year. And I'm gonna keep trying to put these videos out for you guys, and if anybody's watching that likes them, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe, share, you know, do whatever you can. Help me out, guys. But I will see you guys in the next one.